and welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Lisa Bell, along with our producer, Thomas Mates. Now, more Americans are eating less meat. A recent Gallup poll shows nearly 1 in 4 U.S. adults has cut back on their meat consumption. This comes as veganism and plant-based foods are becoming more mainstream, with vegan options showing up at a lot of chain restaurants across the country and at our theme parks, including Central Florida's biggest attraction, Walt Disney World. So to talk to us more about the mainstream appeal of veganism and the options that are now available to tourists in Central Florida, we are joined by Suzannah Otis, the owner and manager of VeganDisneyFood.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Well, I had personally dabbled in vegetarianism and veganism over the years, probably back since 2009-ish, 2012 again, 2017. I went back and forth, and a friend of mine who actually started the site, she went vegan, just cold turkey, and she had tried to convince me over the years, and I finally decided to make that jump. For me personally, it was pretty easy to be a vegetarian, but it was like giving up that last dairy that was really hard for me because I love ice cream so much. But yeah, like just doing some research on all of the different benefits from it, from environmental to, of course, the animals and your health. It just seemed like, I really needed to make this jump to make some changes in my life. And yeah, I haven't looked back since. So it's been close to 3 years now that I've been completely vegan.
And you are certainly not the only one who's done that. It is amazing in the past few years how veganism has really become very mainstream.
It really has. In 2019, the end of 2019, Disney came out with their completely plant-based initiative where they said that every restaurant was going to have at least one plant-based entree option and one plant-based dessert at the table service restaurants. So since then, it's been so much easier to really find something for us vegans in the parks because we know at least there'll be one option. Yeah. Since the parks have closed down and reopened, some of the options have changed a little. They've made things a little easier on the chefs backstage and combined a lot of the lunch and dinner options. So we're really hoping that once the parks return to full capacity, all of the options that were there before, multiple options will return, because that really makes us have more than just like a veggie burger, as an option.
What was it like prior to 2019 then, before they rolled out this fully veggie option at a restaurant?
Some places you could get like a black bean veggie burger. You could get a salad. It was very difficult to you kind of had to pick apart existing entrees or dishes to see which parts you could or couldn't eat. Because it's not just like the main item, the main protein of the dish. It's what's in the bun. Is there dairy or egg in the hamburger bun? Is there honey in the bun? All of those kind of things that you have to research. And that's what Vegan Disney Food does, is we do all of that for you. So you don't have to stand in line and ask to speak to a chef and find out all these ins and outs. We take all of that work out of it for you. So
what's also so amazing about this whole movement is, years ago when you would think about like a plant-based burger or something, a lot of people would really turn up their nose because they just felt like it didn't taste very good. But now there are people who are not vegan but will oftentimes order vegan dishes because the meals are just so wonderful and have improved so greatly over the past decade, really.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the black bean burger used to be the staple, or you could get a veggie burger some places. And if you're doing that for a week straight, it gets a little old very quickly. And of course, there are different types of plant-based eaters out there and vegans out there that are doing it just for the health benefits and not necessarily for any other reason. So they want that meat replacement. So all of these new things like Impossible and Beyond burgers that really do taste like meat, it converts a lot of people. There's a few dishes at Disney in Galaxy's Edge at Docking Bay 7. There's something called the Felucian Garden Spread, which is little kefta style meatballs. And you would swear that they are real meat. Mm-hmm. And it's my favorite dish, even, If I wasn't being a vegan, I would still order this. It's amazing. My husband, who's not vegan, loves it as well. So there's these kind of things like that. And there's other dishes, just depending on the restaurant and the chefs behind it, they will do some more whole food based dishes for people that don't want a meat replacement, or they don't want even tofu. They just want the vegetables and things like that. So there really is a good mix of things throughout the parks.
What do you think's been the biggest innovation as things have, you've mentioned, the Impossible and the Beyond Meats, and there's also seitan and the other wheat meats and tempeh. What's been the biggest innovation insofar as vegan eating in the last, let's say decade?
Definitely the Impossible and Beyond burgers, because there's some Impossible, especially there's people that I've been in a restaurant before and been like, is this actually impossible or is this real meat? Like, it's really hard to tell. They make them like juicy so that it's red, so you're like, what's going on? So it is kind of like amazing that we've come this far. And even for people that don't want those, I think innovations in understanding that there needs to be more options out there is a great step forward, and realizing that maybe people don't always want those. So having multiple options for people, like a vegan version of an existing entree that, works for both people. And it's not just like, oh, this is kind of like the second best, Yeah.
And Disney to me always seems like it was kind of on the forefront of that, always trying to be inclusive and to accommodate people with different, certainly dietary needs.
Yes.
But it definitely seems like it's taken off. I mean, at all the theme parks now, there seems to be options.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we find that a lot of people who read our site and follow us on Instagram, where we post all the pretty pictures of food, they aren't even vegan. A lot of them, they have, a dairy allergy, or they are gluten-free or something like that. So Disney, like you said, has always been amazing. You can speak to a chef if you have allergies and things like that. But Universal is doing gangbusters with their vegan options. The Mardi Gras event that's going on right now, there's multiple vegan options there. SeaWorld has also had amazing vegan options there. So it's been really great, because you don't have to worry like, oh, I'm going to a theme park, do I have to eat beforehand, and things like that. So it really is, there's been amazing improvements.
So tell us about your life. Do you have to buy an annual pass to check out all these theme parks and check out all these restaurants? Do they just welcome you in and let you try it? How does that work?
I do have an annual pass. Most of the time, especially recently, because they aren't doing as many events, but I've been blogging about Disney since 2009 on my other site, Xanaland.com. So I have been invited to events over the years, but since taking this over, there haven't really been too many. But every now and then they do invite us and try things. But of course, it's for everyone, so it's not like vegan specific. So what I can actually eat at those kind of things is kind of limited. So I will go out, whenever there's a new item, I will go out and, take photos and find out all the details of it. And we're constantly looking for, new ways to modify non-plant-based dishes as well. So people have as many options as they can. But yes, annual pass, and I'm there all the time.
And do the parks alert you, when there's a menu change or an update, or no? You got to constantly be there.
Yeah. And that's what's so great, because that we've gotten such a following, because people will tag me in photos, tag the site in photos, and say like, I just tried this, or this has changed, because sometimes existing dishes will, they'll switch them up every now and then. And then I'll have to run out there and see what the new thing is and get an updated photo. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, it keeps it exciting, and it's always something new going on. So
I know with Disney, and I don't mean this in any sort of derisive way, but I know they're welcoming people from all over. They've got to cater to a lot of different tastes. I imagine a lot of their food is relatively speaking safe for a number of palates. So like, what if someone is on vacation, they want to try something new? What's the place to dip their toe in at the park to try something vegan or plant-based?
Well, I mentioned the Docking Bay 7 Felucian Garden Spread. Everyone needs to run over there and get that. I know that's the hardest park to get a pass to right now, but it's worth it because that is just an amazing option. And especially for people that are, just trying this out, it's the closest to real meat that you're going to find anywhere. Food and Wine going on at, not Food and Wine, Flower and Garden that's going on at Epcot right now is also a great way to dabble in things. They have an entirely plant-based booth there called Trowel and Trellis, and there's like 3 or 4 completely plant-based entree items there, and there's 2 desserts around the World Showcase, and some of those are just, there's like an Impossible Korean short rib, which it has more of like a meatloaf consistency. It's not really like short rib, they're just calling it that, but it really tastes amazing, and there's all sorts of wonderful things to just that you would never think were vegan. So get out there and try them.
So I imagine you also obviously branch out outside of the parks. Do you ever offer recommendations for people who are visiting Central Florida and might have a few days where they're on iDrive or in downtown Orlando, places to visit?
I actually just started on our Instagram account, probably like 4 or 5 weeks ago now, a Small Business Saturday, where we spotlight a different local Orlando vegan spot, because there's so many amazing ones all over the place. They're just popping up and they're really, really good. They're not just like, oh, get some, veggie tacos or something. They're amazing with what they're creating, all of these small business owners. So we spotlight a different one every week. There's Dharma Fine Vittles. There's Dajen Eats over in Eatonville. Winter Park Biscuit Company over at East End Market. If you haven't tried their like chicken tenders that are not real chicken, you need to go do that because you would never know the difference. It's unbelievable.
I see a line out the door there. Are you finding that like tourists are in addition to becoming, maybe more veggie friendly, they're also willing to kind of travel out of the traditional touristy areas of Orlando to find these places that you're recommending?
Exactly. Yeah. Because sometimes, the theme park food can get pretty pricey. So if you're already renting a car or you just want to Uber over somewhere, there's so many options now and it really, some of them are worth a trek over.
If you could see into the future, what sort of food trends do you think we'll be seeing like a year from now at the parks?
That's a great question. I think that there will be more whole food-based vegan options because there is such a toss-up between, the vegans that don't want fake meat, they don't want meat replacements. So I think trying to figure out like, hey, we can actually, like, we're chefs, we can cook and we can find ingredients that will make a balanced meal that just happens to be vegan as well. I think and I hope that is a trend because that shows people that you can do this at home as well. You can recreate these kind of options and they're good and good for you. So,
and tell us about some of the resistance to vegans who don't want something that looks and tastes like meat.
Yeah, there's a lot of people because, having a plant-based diet is one thing, but if you are a true vegan, that's like a whole lifestyle encompassing thing. And you don't want any animal byproducts, anything that, subjugates an animal in any way. And in that same vein, you don't want something that reminds you of meat for that reason. Even if it isn't real, you're just like, I don't want any part of this. I don't want to be reminded of that. So yeah, there is that subset of people that just don't want any part of that and want to do, plant-based whole foods kind of thing.
And you mentioned you've been a vegan for a few years now. Like, how do you feel? I imagine you obviously like it, love it. Tell us about how different you feel, your body feels after being on this diet for as long as you have been on it.
It really does. The main thing I noticed was, I used to eat a lot of carbs, which aren't even, meat-based things, but I found myself switching to more vegetables and I would be less tired. I wouldn't be like, after eating a meal, I would just want to like lay down, because it really, those things weigh you down and fill you up when you're eating like heavy meats and processed things and stuff like that. So it really changed my overall feel. I didn't have too many issues as far as like high blood pressure or diabetes and stuff like that. But people that switch that do have those, a lot of them can completely change and no longer have type 2 diabetes or have high blood pressure and things like that. So it really does make a difference when you're switching your diet out.
Looking at that Gallup poll earlier that we talked about in the beginning, it seemed like a lot of like the push of like at least reducing meat consumption was driven largely by like younger women, young millennials and Zennials. Are you finding that also with your readership of like, you know, those are like the people coming to you looking for suggestions?
Yeah, definitely. My readership is almost, I'd say 75%, if not more, female and young. I feel like an old lady compared to them most days. But yeah, I think they're the ones that are most concerned, with their health and well-being. And they're also the ones that are more on Instagram to begin with, and love a good food photo, love, taking that perfect shot. And there's a lot of vegan desserts out there that make it, possible to keep up those pretty food photos and really keep your feed looking nice.
Isn't it amazing how all of that has just evolved so much, like over the past 10 years or 15 years? Because, I can remember being much younger and going to Food and Wine Festival and not really thinking twice beforehand about what was I about to eat, what were they going to serve, just kind of going there and finding something along the way. But people really are researching and doing their homework before going to these parks.
Yeah, exactly. They can find out what things they really want to try, what things are like new and using new items that, they might not have ever wanted to eat before. Myself, I never ate beets before being vegan, and I think it was Flower and Garden a couple years ago is when they had like a beet dish, and I was like, I guess I'll try them because it's here. And I found out I loved beets. So it's a great way to dabble in things if you're trying like a smaller dish that you might not, have to spend $22 on an entree.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us. Tell us all the places where people can find your blogs, find you on social media.
Of course. Well, vegandisneyfood.com. Of course, we have a complete guide to every park, every Disney resort, the water parks, Disney Springs, basically a rundown of every vegan item. For the Flower and Garden Festival, we have a complete map of all the vegan items and where to find them. You can also find us on Instagram at Vegan Disney Food, Facebook at Vegan Disney Food, so many places. And YouTube, we do video reviews of all the different food items as well. So youtube.com/Vegan Disney Food.
Yeah, which is great. And I know it keeps you busy because it seems like every week they're adding some new event. You mentioned Mardi Gras. We always have new things happening here in Central Florida.
We really do, yes. It's fun to keep up with.
And you get to eat vegan, delicious food all the time. So that's
exactly,
fun.
Yeah.
Vegan, yeah. Well, Suzannah Otis, thank you so much. And if anyone is looking for vegan options in Central Florida, you're the place to go.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Florida Foodie. We'd also like to thank our guest, Suzannah Otis. You can find her work online at VeganDisneyFood.com. You can also follow the website on social media. Just search Vegan Disney Food on Facebook and Instagram, and Vegan at Disney on Twitter. Be sure to follow Lisa Bell online as well. Search Lisa Bell News on Facebook and Instagram, or Lisa Bell News 6 on Twitter. Also, a big thank you to our technical producers, Derek Mosier and Ryan Haley. I'm the show's producer, Thomas Mates. Florida Foodie is available to download wherever you get your podcasts. Please take the time to rate and review us, and you can find videos of all of our podcasts at clickorlando.com/podcasts.